So this is the story of how I went from Stress UK director to running the #1 director insolvency firm in the UK today. Now, Chris Worden, director first. I want to take you back to around 10 years ago. I was a director of a business that worked in renewable energy. I was by no means, a multi-millionaire, but our business was doing well. We employed a few people. We built an half-decent reputation for ourselves, and we worked really, really hard. And what happened is overnight, the government changed the goalposts on something that we were doing, and they essentially took away these incentives. Well, they vastly reduced the incentives that they were giving to our customers for installing these type of energy efficiency measures. And I remember it was the start of December, and this shock announcement had come. And we had to go back to clients and say, listen, we're not guaranteed to get your job in for the 7th of January, I think it was, which means you might not get the payback you think. And overnight, we lost hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of orders. We had to give deposits back. And the crazy thing is, we'd have got through that. What killed us was, we then realised a week or two later, just before Christmas, that we had been taken by what can only be described as some conmen. They owed us multiple hundreds of thousands of pounds for some work that we did that we never got paid. So, as you can imagine, that was a bit of a stressful Christmas. If I fall, nobody catches me. And I'm not saying that for sympathy, but listen, I had a young family. I don't have rich parents. Literally, I go out there, I had to make things happen. And over Christmas, I'm thinking, right, because I'm super positive, me. I don't have much in this office, but I've got bookcases of personal development. And all that stuff used to tell me was, well, you can get yourself out of this. No matter what happens, you can come through it. So I sort of took the decision. I was listening to lots of podcasts, reading inspirational books, and thought, right, in the January, we'll hit things head on. And really, what I should have done is, at that stage, all the competition, when these announcements, when these cuts were made, they literally laid the staff off the day after. And for some strange reason in my head, I thought, well, I'll see this as an opportunity, right? And I thought, we'll get through this. So I kept the staff on doing nothing, literally doing nothing. And the mad thing is, if you'd have come into my office at that stage and gone, Chris, how are you doing? I'd have looked you in the eyes and gone, I'm doing sound, yeah, we're going to get through this. And I believed myself. And that's where I think personal development's a little bit dangerous. I love it. Tony Robbins actually says, you can look at your garden and say, there are no weeds, there are no weeds, there are no weeds. If you don't take some action, your garden's going to get overgrown with weeds. So what happened was, for the next few months, we just literally did nothing. The bank account was dwindling down because we still had to pay people. And I'm out there and I'm like, I'll figure this out because I'm self-reliant. I've managed to figure lots of things out over the years. But the pressure was getting worse. I remember once the HMRC coming to our office. I think we owed them about £100,000, which is a lot of money, but that was probably our last our corporation tax was just about to be due. And I think we were about a quarter or two behind on the VAT. So in the grand scale of things, it wasn't a lot. And if we'd have got paid the money, either if we'd have got paid the money or we'd been installed the jobs we'd already booked in, we'd have had enough money to pay it. Anyway, he's come to we worked on a farm and our office was sort of on the first floor, and he come into the office and oh my God, I wasn't there at the time, but obviously all the staff are panicking, really embarrassing, really frightening. And my best thinking at that stage was, well, I'll tell you what we'll do, not ring him, God forbid ring the guy, I'm going to put a door lock on the downstairs door so they can't come up next time. And that's embarrassing to say, but that's the truth. That is how poorly informed I was about what my options were. And as it got worse, I sort of understood that, I need to find out about this thing called insolvency. And I went on the internet. And there were websites out there that sort of highlighted the problems a little bit, but they didn't really give any solutions, and they were a little bit conflicting. And then I went, right, again, from the mindset of I'll figure this out, I'll go and see some of these insolvency practitioners. And it were a really bad experience because, I mean, I wasn't sleeping at night. Honest to God, it was like, I remember I was all right in the day because I had this delusion that things were going to get better, and I would go home and I'd put my baby to bed because she were a baby at that stage. And then as I'm putting my head down on the pillow, it would be like a pinball machine went off in my head, okay? And all these thoughts would race around and I could not settle. Again, if I fell, no one caught me. And what happened for me was I wasn't sleeping. I was probably drinking more than I should. My diet was to shit. I wasn't exercising. You know, all those basics that allow me to face the world and show up in the best possible version I wasn't doing. And it was just a downward cycle. And I put the courage to go and see these insolvency practitioners, and they spoke to me like dirt, like I was a criminal. And okay, I owed some money. I owed a supplier some money for some faulty goods that they gave us, which caused us cash flow problems, and we was in a dispute. We paid them on time for years previous for that, and we were behind with HMRC. And I didn't need that. I knew I had a problem, right? I didn't need to be spoken to like a naughty schoolboy. But you know what? No one would give me a straight answer. Now, you can't kid a kidder. Like, I was quite streetwise, and I'm thinking there's something about this that doesn't sit right, you know? I just don't feel like they're telling me everything. Now, I wasn't very well educated, and obviously, you know, what I now know to be a really uneducated question is what I led with. What is this going to cost to sort out? And eventually I found someone who was a little bit, it was someone who introduced me, $5,000. I said, is that all that it's going to cost me? And even then, guess what I got stung with? You've got it. I had a bit of an overdrawn director's loan account, and I had to settle that down the line. That could have been discussed on day one. It could, because it was there. I just didn't know it was there. But I suppose, like many others, I just went out there. I was in pain. I was in fear. I just wanted to get it dealt with. And what happened is, there was a guy who sort of did this. He used to go out there and find work for insolvency practitioners. And he said, listen, he said, come on, work with me, and I think we'll be good together. Because I had an all right business reputation, you know, I knew lots of people, and it was a real off-the-cuff comment. I said, I bet you I can go out there and get you some work. And I never, ever realised it'd get to this stage where we do probably 50 cases a month. We're one of the largest companies of our kind, probably the largest director-focused insolvency advisor out there. But we went out there and like we started to educate directors. Oh, there's something I want to tell you about actually. I had an overdraft with the bank, right? And I had an overdraft with the bank, and me and my mate at the time, my other co-director, we'd sort of fell out. We were best pals, and we weren't best pals at that stage. And again, this is how poorly educated I was. We were joint and several with this $25,000 overdraft. And he went and got a deal done at like $3,000, I think, as full and final, and they accepted it. So what it meant is he came to me for the 20 odd. And again, that was a frightening thing, and I had to just get through it, and I did a deal with the bank and paid it over years. But on the back of that, I said, you know what, there's a lot of people out here and they get into trouble because they don't know what questions to ask. And I'm like, that I had all these questions that no one was really straight with me. I got answered a bit here and a little bit there and a little bit here, and I had to read between the lines a lot. And I went, you know what? Let's just give real transparent advice. Like, if there's a problem, you've got a problem on day one, okay? So we get all the crap out on the table, and like we just messed about with it for a few years. Like it was, you know, we'd do a job here and a job there, and you know. And about 2020, or might have been 2019, I started to do videos, right, that everyone took the piss out of me for, like in the industry. Like we were ridiculed. We were ridiculed. People in my office, my partner at the time, ridiculed them. But I had a belief that if we went out there and we just give transparent, honest advice and we answered the questions that no one else would answer, I knew people would want to work with us. And in the early days, it was so hard, like, because no one knew who we were. You know, we're not the IP. Our job is to advise you, the director. We work with only licensed insolvency practitioners here. We have 7 licensed IPs that take the appointments. But our job is to go out there, sit down with you and go, right, what's going on? What are the various options? But more importantly, what are the personal consequences to you as a result of doing this? Because I may say it all the time, it's not the 5 grand plus VAT that's going to cause you a problem to go into liquidation. It's the 50 grand you're going to be chased afterwards for your overdrawn loan account. Now again, we can't sweep anything under the carpet, but our ethos is we're going to educate you. We're not going to ask for a penny off you either. This is another thing that we really believe in. Our model's dead simple. We will knock your socks off with how much value that we give you for free, okay? If you have an insolvency question and you can't find the answer on my YouTube channel, please tell me and I'll do a video on it. And our aim is, and listen, we want you to talk to other people because we know we're fairly unique. There are people that have copied what I do over the years, and you know what? God bless them. And because I think what we've done is really disruptive in this industry, and it's resulted in you guys getting better information and being able to make better informed decisions. So what do we do today? We do the same stuff, but you know about us now. It's a bit easier for us to win work. We're not going out there and just asking you to hope and pray that we'll do what we say we're going to do. We are the #1 on Trustpilot by a country mile. And if you factor in my other company that I launched, my original company, First Business Rescue, which I left a few years ago, I've probably got now 1,000 reviews that I've been part of on Trustpilot. And we do the same things today. We're really passionate about helping people, and we'll give anyone a bit of free advice. We get hundreds of inquiries a month that come through our various channels, and we don't do hundreds of insolvencies. A lot of it is, listen, you can do this, you can't do that, don't do this. If you do this, this will happen, and we give some really good advisory. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell. Hope you've not snoozed off. And if you want to ask me any questions, hit me up. Thank you.